What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 9. And it's called Chapter 126, Betty and Veronica Double Digest.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, our MVPs, our best lines, and your guys' recap roundup. So be sure to stick around for the end of the podcast.
Yeah. As always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe.
Let's get into this episode, y'all.
B&V.
So what did you think? B&V.
I liked it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought that they did such a good job with both storylines, even though they don't really intersect at all. We don't really get like a B&V. We get a B&V moment, but it's kind of a montage. But right. I loved it. I find the stories they're really unique this season. Like even with Veronica's storyline, like I'm thinking it's gonna go one way and it goes a completely opposite way and it catches me off guard. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like this is cool. So I liked it. What do you
I didn't hate it and I didn't not enjoy it. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a good watch. I think one of my biggest worries right now is like, are we like, I don't know if it's
I feel like
I'm getting
everyone
bored.
has your worry. I feel I read a couple of comments and they said the same thing. They were like, okay, but like, what are we doing here? Like, are we gonna solve the season or are we just gonna stay here? And I'm all like, I'm good here. Like, don't just.
You're like, let's stay. We're good. Yeah, you're like, I'm down. Yeah, I just feel like I want to keep trying to find like little nuggets that make us feel like we're coming back to something bigger and greater. Like I wish I just knew like what the vision and direction of this entire season was. Like, is it just to be like, we're gonna be in the 50s, they're gonna be dealing with some things that are still relevant to to the world today, and that is the end of it? Or like, are we going to lead to something new? Like there are some moments this episode that I got excited about because I thought they were trigger points. I thought that they were points that were going to be like, ooh, like Betty's using her bobby pin now, again. You know what I mean? Like there were moments where I was
something. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it just becomes like oh, book. She just wants to come after Dr. Werther's and there's some things about this story and I agree with you. The storytelling has been good. It's more just why are we having this conversation? Why is Betty? I was a little annoyed with what Betty was going through because I know that it was leading up to this conversation and having to figure her out and what she realized this episode, which I thought was great. I'm not saying that any of that's wrong. I'm just saying why are we using Dr. Werther's as the vehicle? Why are we,
well, because in this universe, he's the villain. And I think and I think by the end of the episode, we are sort of on track to sort of uncover, I think, the next thing, which is who is this milkman? What the hell happened to Bradbury? I think we're getting there. For me, I've always been about the journey because I feel like the writers they never get the ending. They never get we always get to the ending with the Black Hood, the TBK, the gargoyle. We always got to the end where this was it. We were never happy. And so for me, I'm all about the journey. And so I guess I'm more content with where we are now and getting to see our characters do these different things. I'm okay. I think they'll get there eventually. They will. I know, I hear you. And people are saying the same thing. Yeah. So
I'm split, because to your point, I am enjoying watching it. If I were to pretend that 7 seasons haven't happened before this, or 6 seasons haven't happened before this, I'd be like, cool, Riverdale's fun. These characters are fun to watch. They're going through some things that are really interesting and watching their growth is really cool.
Yeah.
But then the other side of it's but Betty's done this tenfold. She literally became an FBI agent who was kidnapped by a serial killer and put into a dungeon. I see what you're
saying.
To find her power. We're telling the same story but in the 50s and it doesn't ring as strong because we didn't see the character go through that hardship. Betty was traumatized. That was her struggle, and I would have wanted to watch more of how she heals through that, how she grows and develops, and you know, like I start to worry about the fact that like we're going to be stuck in this 50s world all the way into the end, and we're just never going to be able to find that perfect marriage that maybe they are still trying to, like maybe they are getting there. And like I am hopeful, like you said, that we're getting to a point where things might start to pivot and start to change. But to your point as well, there's a lot of story to tell, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of interesting like things that they can talk about in this world too.
And I think like along the way, and you guys, like our listeners, you guys have been so amazing with sort of picking up on certain things. And you guys always say like there's fragments of the original, you know, timeline in this timeline, but I don't see it. Like I don't see that at all. Like
I'm
even
trying to
with
pay attention to
Veronica's
them.
storyline, okay, she's the business owner, great, but she's way more successful in this version than she ever like she was so much more annoying in the other one. Like she did all these weird things. This one she actually is like a business woman. So
Right.
and obviously there's other storylines that we could look at, but I don't, even with Betty's, like she's an FBI agent, okay, so in this universe, what, she's like a sexual deviant, her dad's possibly be a serial killer again, like I don't get what those fragments are, if that's even what the writers are trying to put in there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like how are we supposed to piece this all together? Like I'm more looking forward to seeing how this all comes together. And I guess to your point, like, yeah, we just have to sit and enjoy the ride because like we're getting what we're getting, y'all. Like
Yeah,
no matter how what we say, we can bitch about whatever we want to bitch about it being too slow, we're not getting what we need. But at the end of
as
the day,
long
like
as,
this is what we're getting.
and
So
you're enjoying it. Like
enjoy it.
overall, I'm enjoying this rather than the last 5 seasons of out of the 7 seasons that we've gotten. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually enjoying watching every episode.
Hmm. I just feel like they're so different, right? Like
They're so
I
different.
can't even compare what was enjoyable about, like there were some wild things that happened in the past 6 seasons that I can't
But
deny
like
were like really enjoyable to watch in their own right. This is just more rooted in something that feels
has
familiar.
purpose and
It
like
it stays kind of, it feels gentle and like the same,
it has
which
purpose in its own timeline, but in the
right,
high level scheme of things of like looking at it from like the whole series perspective, we don't know the purpose just yet. But
right.
like for where they are, I get it. Yeah, I really liked Veronica's storyline this week. I really, really liked it. I thought that theater scene was so cool. Like the
Yeah.
like I was shocked. And like as the audience, you're not always shocked, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, it was definitely a fun watch. I just, yeah, anyway. Let's get
Yeah,
into
let's
the
get into
episode.
it. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So it starts off with the narration from Jughead, and he's sad. He's at Pop's diner. He's talking about Mr. Rayberry's death. Sad boy storyline this episode. And then it cuts to Betty at Dr. Werther's office, and we get like that iconic, I guess, like Betty font like over her head,
Yeah.
cartoon font
Yeah.
to start her digest, I guess. And they're just talking. He talks about the fact that she's off the Vixens now. Betty basically has to explain to him like high school is a sexual place.
Yeah.
Dr. Withers is talking about the fact that Betty is off the Vixens now, and Betty talks about the fact that like high school is a sexual place. Like, let's be real. And Dr. Withers is like, no, it's not. It's an institution for people to learn. And she's like, you're filling a bunch of hormonal teenagers into one place. It is sexual. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he goes off to talk about like what is your set for sexual memory, and she has this like vision, and I guess like throughout her entire like digest she has these like visions that come to her, and it shows her and Archie playing Operation on like the floor in their living room, and like the sun is like beaming on his face, and she's like, ooh,
And he like fucked it up too. It's like, and he's like, oops. And
yeah, he's like, she's like, what?
she's like, that's
um
hot.
and then she doesn't tell Dr. Werther's about that
Mm.
though. She's like, I don't know what you mean, nothing. But then he asks how often she thinks about sex, and there's like literally like this is the montage that we saw in the commercial or like the
Yeah.
promo for it. She's like at school, she's making out with Archie, she's making out with Fang, she's making out with Jughead, she's making out with Veronica and
Veronica.
Reggie. Reggie got a
Yeah.
shower scene with her. I was like,
Yeah.
damn. Um, and then this one she says she thinks about sex all the time. And
Well, she says something interesting because she said, or I don't know who says it, but he's like, oh, the studies show that boys think about sex
yeah, she said that.
every
7 seconds.
7 seconds or something, right? And then he was like, "Oh, well, that's boys though. Like they can think about that. Like
Like
it's
it's
different for
different
girls.
for
Like girls
girls.
should not think about it at all."
Right.
Ugh, it's fucking
Super sexist. And she was like, well, in that case, I think about it all the time. Like, what do you want me to say?
She was like, "I don't care, bitch."
She's like, fine. Um, like I guess the one thing that I was kind of like not annoyed by is the Betty, and I guess it just goes back to the fact that like, we've seen different versions of Betty in the past like 6 seasons. This Betty like seems very forthcoming to talk to him about all these issues. I guess not realizing that he's like a sketch douchebag that we know
Well,
him to
she
be.
doesn't know yet, right? And she's being told by her
Right.
parents, who are her guardians and her protectors, to like, hey, go
To
talk
go
to
and
this
talk to
man.
this guy. Yeah,
Ultimately,
that's
I
true.
do feel like she knows that there's nothing wrong with her. She knows that deep down.
Right.
But I still think that like she's just kind of going along with what she's been told, and I got to talk to this
Yeah.
person and whatever. It's just,
True.
yeah.
Just going with it. Yeah. So then she says she's like, well, what about my dad? Because he says something along the lines like sex should only be for marriage and
Yeah.
sex should only be to like have kids, whatever,
Yeah.
all that stupid stuff. And she's like, well, what about my dad's dirty magazines? I saw them in his drawer. And then it kind of shows a little scene where she like she finds the magazines and she turns and it pans over to her parents sleeping in separate beds. And I know that in the 50s and
Yeah.
there was a time period where that was very common. Like separate beds was what
My
people did.
grandparents
And
slept in separate bedrooms. Like that was the
yeah,
tea.
there's yeah,
They didn't give a
people would push
fuck.
the beds together and like, that kind of stuff. Um so anyway, so then that happens and then Betty says she's like I don't even know if I want to get married. I don't even know if like that is going to be a part of my life. She wants to make an impact. She has this like really great line where she talks about the fact that like that shouldn't be my end goal. It should
Yeah.
be like
She
how I
wants to
want
make
to like
change in the world
she
and
wants
like
to
do
make change,
something
which is great.
and do both. Not that that's like one thing. You should have
Yeah.
one or the other, right? Like,
She's like, maybe it's both, maybe, but like I don't want that to be my end all be all, like just being married. So then it cuts to Betty in her room, and Alice, of course, brings in a bunch of bridal magazines, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Betty! Like when I see you in this dress, it's gonna be the happiest day of my life." And Betty's like, "Where is this all coming from? Like we don't even like where are you talking? Why are you talking about this to me?" Like she's not connecting the fact that obviously like Werther said this to Alice, and now Alice needs to like push the marriage thing or whatever. Um, but anyway,
oh, is
obviously
that
there's
what she was
pressure.
doing? Like she was like reinforcing what he was saying?
Yeah, yeah, like that. It was already happening at
Oh,
the beginning of the
oh.
episode. Like she was like, "Here's some wedding magazines. I'd love for you to
Mm,
like be in one of these wedding dresses." And she's like, "Mom, I'm not even dating anybody right now. Like, what the
yeah.
fuck?" Um. Anyway, so that cuts to Veronica at Riverdale High, and then it's her like Veronica Digest
Yeah.
begins. She is giving away free tickets to, I guess, like a James Dean double
2 night,
feature
yeah, double feature.
at the Babylonium,
Yeah.
and like whatever, she's handing them out. Cheryl, who is the official like James Dean like fan club like
Yeah.
president, she comes by and she's like, what is this? And Veronica's like, I'm doing a double feature, like they're free, like send them out, like we just want to bring a bunch of people to the Babylonium. They have a little bit of a spat, whatever, it's not a big deal. She all grabs the tickets and she's like, I'll give them to my vixens. And then Veronica says like, I'm gonna be giving them to the bulldogs though, like just
Like it's my job. I volunteer as
I'm
tribute.
gonna do that. Yeah. So then Clay and Kevin, as she leaves, like Cheryl takes the tickets and leaves. Clay and Kevin tease her about the fact that like she's like, they're like, oh, you want to go talk to the bulldogs or like just one bulldog? And Veronica's like, like she like knows what she's doing. Then it cuts to the locker rooms, and Ronnie's like putting all the invites into everybody's lockers, and sure enough, she like goes straight up to Reggie after, and she's like, so like, am I saving you a seat beside me at the Babylonium for this movie? I'd love for you to come. And he was like, sure, I guess. Like, he wasn't even really.
He's so hot. Like in this new role, he's like really hot.
His
Like
suavemente.
because he's just like quiet. Like he's not even like that typical Reggie character.
And he's all like
just
fawning
like
over
cool.
her.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just like chill. Yeah, I was getting very excited about their potential,
like
whatever.
where it was leading to.
Yeah, and then nothing even happened. So I was
like so then it cuts to the Babylonium. Veronica she's talking to Reggie at the counter. He gives her some money and she was like, actually, why don't you
take
me
it,
out?
Boo.
Save that 25 cents, girl.
Save that quarter.
Yeah, all good.
You bought me dinner after with that quarter.
Yeah, exactly. You go buy me a milkshake at Pops. So she asks him, like, do you want to like go for a drink after? And he's like, yeah, sure, sounds good. Then it cuts to Kevin telling her, like, girl, you gotta get up here.
So, like,
and she was like,
he's like panicking. Like you can tell he's like sweating and she's like, Kevin. He's like, Veronica. She's like, oh my god, I spoke to Reggie and like we're gonna go out. He's like, bitch, your fucking theater is like burning down. Like, get up here.
Like,
she's
what?
Like, oh, shit.
Focus. She's like, right. I'm doing a business.
Right, I'm a businesswoman.
So she goes into the projector booth and turns out that all the James Dean films that were sent over by the studio were all overexposed and unplayable.
We know about overexposure at Recap Rewind because a long time ago, your girl MB could not get the exposure right on her film.
Oh god.
And a little certain somebody, J-Lag, had to literally develop my film for me.
Little photography
cameras. A little like Recap Rewind tidbit. J-Lag and I actually met in, was it photography class?
Class.
Or was it art class? It was photography class?
Yeah, photography class.
It was photography class in high school. And we had a dark room and everything.
Yeah.
And I could not develop my film for the life of me. And every time I'd be like, J-Lag, can you go and just do my thing?
I got so good at it too, like doing it in the dark.
Like, you were really like, I would be in there with you, but like I'd just be watching you.
I'm like, okay, done. Let's go. Let's develop this time.
But yeah, that's a little tidbit.
Funny. Yeah. So overexposed film is what we do here at Recap Rewind. And it's unplayable. They can't watch it. Like, it's not possible.
Which is, guys, at that time, those things cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, that's expensive shit. Like,
it's like and it's also devastating because like every single one of the films were overexposed. Like I felt terrible for them. Yeah. So she now has to go to this full crowd, this full audience of people and be like,
see, so this was the moment where I was like, okay, what is she gonna do? So in my typical like thinking of Veronica, okay, she's gonna try to swindle something. She's gonna try to like lie and like put on a show herself or something. Like I'm like, what is she gonna do? But then she actually goes up there and she like admits, she's like, like she gave up. She's like, the film's done. Like,
can't.
I'm sorry. Like the night's over. And then everyone got like cheese. They were like throwing shit at her. So it was another moment where I was like, what is she gonna do now? Like I was starting to get invested in this and be like, okay, like how do you come back from this?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Like I did not know what she was gonna do. You're right, because I was like, she can start singing. She can tell Clay to start singing. And
anything,
Kevin
like take off his shirt. Like you know her.
It's true. So no, I was interested to see like what she was gonna do, and she does have a few moments where it doesn't really work out for her, right? So after the refund happens, like everybody demands a refund. She has to give all the money back. Reggie at the end of the night has been waiting, and she's like, honestly, like I can't come. So
yeah, she's like, do you not see my business right now?
It's like, my business is messed up.
My business needs me, and he's like, okay, no worries.
And he's like, I think they both agreed to like having.
He wasn't even upset. He was like totally cool. He's like, okay, yeah, like I get it.
Sounds good. The next morning, she's calling people in person or not person. She's calling people on the phone. You gave me a defective print. Like what happened here? And he goes on to say like he doesn't know how it happened. But basically like tough. It's
sorry about it. And she was like, can't you send us like another reel? Like send us more? And he's like, no. He's like, we have none. And she was like, bro, it's like the most popular movie like film right now. Like what do you mean you have none? Right. You know, like we are film buffs and I love that whole like old Hollywood world. So even just like hearing these like conversations and like the dealings of like how they would do things.
Like how they would
I liked it. I was interested
rent
in
or
it.
buy these films from studios, and
you have to call them and be like we're a new theater, like we need the film, like it was interesting.
Distribution, like that whole concept of distribution. Yeah, it's totally cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure nowadays it's like send the file over.
Yeah, it's like a
mail
USB.
over a USB.
Yeah.
You know, like but anyway, actually I think they do still, anyway, I'm not gonna get into that shit.
I think you're right. I think it's like they still have to like load something, but it's not like film. Like I don't know if it's like actual film.
I feel like it might,
because that shit costs way too much money, and like the insurance on that would be crazy.
Would be insane.
Some idiot 16-year-old teenager would be ruining film left, right, and center. No, they
look at this girl. She's ruining like millions of dollars already. She's got like fucking none. So he basically says it's your problem, and then there's like a flurry of calls. Like her, Clay, Kevin are calling all the studios up. Let's get this film. Turns out that they get rejected. Essentially, they're like blacklisted. The last call that she has, the guy kind of infers like, I can't do business with someone who I'm doing business with their parents. Click, bye. So that kind of confirms her suspicion that
they are doing something. Yeah.
Who are like screwing her up. And before she like starts swallowing that situation.
Like I still don't get why. Fine, they want to build a parking lot. Bro, the theater's gonna make you more money than a goddamn parking lot.
I honestly really, I think that's the thing that I really hated about her storyline is, number one, the lodge parents are at it again, being just like shitty parents. We already had that storyline.
Like your daughter's excelling in something, like be happy.
Like what is it that makes her so unhappy? And I think the thing that like was really annoying too was when Clay was like, why are they gonna do that? Like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Her only response was they are the only ones that are allowed to win. Right. They'd rather see like even their own daughter lose.
Like fail, yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of parents would do? Like, I just don't believe it.
And if you're gonna bring me her parents in episode 13 and make me feel like they deserve like a good ending, no, I ain't buying it. Because who does this to their child?
Yeah, this is all types of, that's what I mean. Like, I think this is even more severe than anything that Hiram had ever done. Like in the past, like by the end of this episode, kicking her out of the house, like doing all this stuff, like kiboshing her entire like business. Like he did a few things, but they were able to kind of like fight back with each other here and there. But like this was extreme, and the fact that it was from both the parents, like both parents were like,
right. It's like Hermione too.
Yeah. She's a monster. She's running her own business. Hiram. Which I don't understand. Like, I just don't get it. I feel like it's a stupid reasoning for her to just be like, they're evil. Okay, if they're evil, then like maybe they should go to jail. Like maybe they shouldn't like have a, like, I don't know why they even care.
I don't know why why they didn't just like get like another sort of like family who didn't want her to succeed in this industry of theater and like owning your own business. Like, why does it have to be always her parents like bringing her the fuck down?
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe her parents are just tied up and they just like cannot be around to support her endeavors. Like, and that's it. Like they just can't like be there for her. Why does it have to be Hiram? Why does it have to be Hermione actually sabotaging their own daughter? It doesn't feel
and like
believable to me at all.
Anyway,
she's 16 years old.
I know, and we could go on forever, but like if you told me that like her parents had like a thing against like movies, I'd be like, oh, okay, like they legit hate movies, like they want to get rid of a theater. You're gonna build a parking lot?
Girl,
it doesn't even like business wise doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even connect to me at all. Like, and the fact that they even give a crap about what's happening in this small town when they live in Hollywood and they have one of the biggest shows in all of the like
famous
America.
People, they'd want a theater to thrive so they could go there and like perform.
And that's to your point. If they show up in episode 13 and they're like, Mija, I just like didn't want you to get into this industry and we just did whatever we could to make sure that you. Girl, we don't need that storyline. It is bullshit. It is not even believable for you to be like, this is just, we're trying to like push you into the right direction by giving you some hard truths in life. And sometimes you just can't. No, you guys are going to come in and you guys better come in hot and evil, because at this point in time, I mean, they're going to come in hot because it's Mark Consuelos, but I just feel like it doesn't connect to me at all. And I'm disappointed because I feel like,
because otherwise it was a great storyline. Personally, for me, I loved I loved her entire
like the
journey,
back and
but the
forth.
reasoning and like the intention of like the parents, I don't get it and I hate it and I'm not
Doesn't
here
make
for
sense.
it.
Yeah, hated it. um Clay does have an idea by the end of this and says maybe we can connect to like the smaller studios who have like, you
Loved
know,
it.
some like not as
Love it.
well known films with like big stars, and ask them if they can help us out.
Yep.
And then Veronica's like, ooh, B movies, like I'm down for that, like let's do it.
I feel like Cami Mendes excelled in this episode. Like she was so good. And sometimes I'm like a very hard judge on her. I feel like her acting is like it's like questionable sometimes. In this
I think
one,
she's great.
she was like floating, like her lines were like delivering and like the humor behind it, the
Yeah,
sass, like oh my god, she was so good. Like she was on fire.
she felt like she was in like in her mode, like in
Yes.
the right groove, like she knew
Yes.
what she was doing the entire time. Let's get them on the phone. It felt very natural. Anyway, I know what you
Loved it.
mean.
Yeah.
Really, really good job. It cuts back to Betty and Dr. Werther's. He now asks, what is her most vivid sexual dream? And she says that she has a dream about being a teacher and she wants to like hook up with everybody basically. But mostly, she does say, mostly it's Archie.
Does she
That is,
say his name?
yeah, she's like, mostly
Oh, she
it's usually
says.
just Archie.
Okay.
And it shows the rest of the scene. They're like sexing all over the table. They're making out or whatever. And then she continues to say to Dr. Werther's, and then I turn around and like the entire class is
It's like
watching.
watching.
So, and she's excited about it.
And
like
she's
in,
like, yeah,
in her
like it
dream,
turns
she's
her
not
on.
embarrassed. She's
Yeah.
like, oh. And then he asks her, where does she think that this urge to be more sexualized comes from? And Betty says, I think it doesn't have to do with like me being sexualized. It's more, I just want to be seen, period. Like, I just want to have a moment to feel heard and seen and
And like
wanted and
comfortable in your own
desired.
skin and confident. Like
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved that line.
I thought it was a great way to like kind of bring that piece together. I'm
Well,
over
because
her
he's
being sounding like she's like this sexual deviant. Like I'm
yes.
over it. Like let's just talk about the fact that she's just a teenager. Like where does this janky ass doctor have anything to say to anybody?
He's so fucking disgusting. And
I
like
don't
I'm
get it.
sorry, but like he was pushing her in that direction of like
Yeah.
oh, it's all sexual. And she's like, no, no, no,
Tell me
like
more
bring
about your
it back.
sexual
Like it's
vivid
not about
dreams. Like
that.
what the fuck? Like relax.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then it cuts to Pop's diner and Veronica's picking up an order and she sees Jughead like with the books and he's like reading all the comics and she asks him about a particular movie, the what is it called,
The Crawling
the
Eye.
Crawling Eye. Yeah. And this is the part that I'm kind of like annoyed that she didn't really like check in on him. Did you notice that at all?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
She just kind of like popped in and was like, hey, do you know this movie? And he was like, yeah, I really liked it. Mr. Rayberry really liked it too. And then she's like, anyways, so I'm looking for this movie. And I was like, okay, I guess
You
you're
know
just
what
gonna
it is though, J-Lag? I didn't mind because I do feel like Jughead didn't give a shit about her either. Like he really was in
he's
his
wallowing.
own.
He's sad. He's
No, but like
grieving.
when they were together, like I feel like he was a little bit in his own world too. So like I don't know. I guess she should, but it's Veronica. Like I didn't even like if it was Betty, 100% I would have like been like ask him how he's doing. But because it's
Right.
her, I'm like she's gonna go do her own thing after. She doesn't even care.
But also, we could also assume that like maybe Jughead just didn't even divulge any of that information. Like maybe he's just like sitting in a comic. Like she didn't even know that he was dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah, she didn't know, but like to your point, like she could maybe tell that he's being like sad, but he's always like that.
She's like, anyways. So anyway, so she so she asked about this movie and she's like, I'm trying to like find a way to get it and bring some more energy to the Babylonium. And he's like, well, why don't you try this like gimmick that this other group did where they put like buzzers under seats when this certain thing happened, like people would get buzzed or shocked under their seats. She was like, ooh, so you're like selling the gimmick, not necessarily the movie, so people come to your theater
Selling a
specifically.
vibe.
I was like, duh, 4D, welcome to 2023. So now she wants to kind of enact that. So she steals the idea and then she runs away. She's like, "Okay, bye,
I loved
thanks."
it. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "Okay, good to
She's
see
like,
ya."
no, but you know what? This is the thing. This episode is about Betty and Veronica. It is not about
Fair.
Jughead. Jughead. I'm sorry. You get your own screen time. This is for the girls. Okay.
This one's for the girlies. No, I hear that, but he could have at least been
And
like, "Okay,
he
good to
even
see
says
you."
it after. Like he even said like after he does get a bit of airtime too. So like it's fine.
Right, it's fine. He'll be okay. So then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and she gets home, and there's a mother effing priest at this mother
Oh
effing
my
house.
god.
And Alice is like, "He's here to hear your confessions." She's like, "Why would I be needing to confess?" And then she realizes that all of her freaking diaries are sitting on the counter table, like on the table.
Alice disgusts me.
So annoying. And the thing is, I guess if you want to talk about parallels, the same thing happened in the other series. Like she opened this, like it was a whole thing, right? So, anyway, so she's like, "Did you read my diaries? Are you doing this because Mr. Werther's?" And she says, she's like, "Well, I was prescribed to like read your diaries." She's like, "What the fuck? Like, you guys are breaking and entering because you got prescribed to check in on my private information because of Mr. Werther's?" So she gets pissed off, she leaves, and then she decides that she's gonna break into his office as a little bit of a comeback, like a take back.
Yeah.
So the next scene is,
and it's like that good old Betty.
Yeah,
like it's that good old Betty investigative. What did they used to call her? Anyways, whatever.
Stealthy Betty,
like Nancy Drew or something.
Yes,
with her little hairpin. Remember the bobby pin?
The bobby pin girl.
Yeah.
We're like, so she breaks into his office at night, and I love this scene because she uses her iconic bobby pin, but it's almost like its origin story because she doesn't know, she's never done it before.
Yes.
So she's like, "This always works in like the books, like
in
we'll
like
see
the
if
Nancy
it works."
thing books. Yeah. It was a cute little nod to all the seasons before.
Yeah, I love that it opened. She opens it up, and she finds all this confiscated stuff. She finds like a knife. She finds like comic books, and then she finds a book called Lolita that's like sitting in the back of the drawer. She takes it. She also goes to visit Jughead. Poor Jughead is like just getting popped in on. She's like, "Hey, do you know anything about this book?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a really like racy book, very controversial. Just came out." And she's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go read it. Like, it's about like a young girl and like a man,
like a 12-year-old girl, and like the teacher or like the therapist or something like that."
Yeah. It's like I know that it's quite a iconic like book for people to read in like the literary world. Like people have like opposing opinions about it, and like they see it in different ways. So I've never read it before, but anyways, she goes home, she reads it. Then it cuts to Riverdale High, and Veronica is advertising the Crawling Eye movie. She brings in her own projector. She presses play, and she's like, "Y'all, this movie's gonna be playing at the Babylonium only 1 week. Like, come see it." And Cheryl obviously is like that movie came out 2 years ago. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, okay, cool.
But Veronica sells it. Like she truly sells it.
I'm like, I want to go.
It's like it is an experience of 4D, no longer 3D. I'm like, oh my god, what is this? Like,
she
I
sells
want to
like
go.
4 dimensions.
She sold it. And again, like I'm in this moment where I'm like, okay, how is she gonna sell this? What is she gonna say? Like, what is she gonna bribe everyone? But like, she bribes them, kind of. But like, she also like sells it really well.
Yeah, she totally sells it. Did you notice that Dilton had a random line where he was like, "The 4th dimension is time," and I was like, "Okay, thank you."
Oh my god! Now that
I just felt like it was a very like specific thing to say about the fact that like time and we're in the 50s.
Dude, I wonder if the theater is gonna have a connection to like how they jump back into like the timeline.
Oh, like there's a connection to the Babylonian.
Maybe through like maybe through films. Like I don't know. Maybe there's some connection there.
4D experience.
Yeah.
This is our 4D experience.
That's a good catch. I didn't think about it, but when you said it,
like maybe.
That's good. And she's like, "Shut up, Dilton."
She's like, "I'm advertising my movie. You're coming or not?" So anyway, so she sells it to the class. Then it shows her like talking to Clay and Kevin. She's like, they're like doing like fucking pour paper mache on this like
on these
giant
balls,
giant balls.
the balls.
And she also hires Reggie and Archie to help her.
She's like, I have a job for you. And they're like, what is it? And she's like, it's just like for like a minute, okay?
And it was cute because Archie was starting off like,
yeah,
like, no, we can't, like, we're busy. And then Reggie's like, well, what is it? And then he was like, yeah, like, what is it? Yeah,
what is it? Like, we can help you, I guess. It was so cute.
It was cute. It was really cute because like that's what I want to see when I see Reggie, 100%. Archie, and Veronica on screen together. Like, it's so adorable.
Yeah.
Anyway, then it cuts to the Babylonium. The movie plays, everything's happening. They have their 3D glasses on, like old school 3D glasses on, and the monster, I guess, is supposed to come out. There's like smoke coming up from the bottom.
I was getting so excited. I was like, this is crazy. What is this?
And then Reggie and Archie, obviously in these like scary eyeball monster outfits, which are the same monsters from the movie, come out and like go into the crowd, like out of the fog, attack people.
And they start like touching people, and then people started laughing. Like Cheryl was like laughing the whole time. I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, it was really, really well done because especially for that time, like now when nothing gags us, like in this generation, like everything's like virtual reality, holograms, whatever, like Tupac on stage. But like the fact that in the 50s, like these things were being tested and tried in theaters. I don't know if this specific thing happened, but like trying to bring a new experience to a moviegoer at that time.
Like logistically, I don't know how she got the fog to go like underneath people's seats. I'm not gonna ask questions. But I bought it and I was like, I was living for it. I was like, good job. Like
it was cute. And like the little like you were saying, the little montages of everybody laughing and having a good time. And like this is what people love about the movies, like the enjoyment of that crowd experience. So anyway, so super success. Great job, Veronica. She's like sitting at the top of the booth. She's like, yes, enjoy my movies. So then it cuts to Betty and going to see Dr. Werther's, and she confronts him about the Lolita book. She's like, I found this in your office. What the F are you doing? Like, and then she basically tells him like, you're the one that's sexually crazed. I don't feel comfortable being like in a room with you, knowing that you're like this weirdo who like reads these books. And like she made a lot of really good points, basically saying like, I don't know what you're doing with those notes. Like for all I know, you're reading our notes like after our therapy sessions and like doing something sexual to those.
I loved this scene, like loved it.
And I think there's a part of me that was like, obviously you have to like do these things because he is a creep, but like we're the only ones that know he's a creep. Yeah. She's just discovering this now. Yeah. So for the fact that she like came and had to say it, I was like, well, yeah, obviously you need to like go after this motherfucker. He's a fucking weirdo. But she didn't know any of these things. And the fact that she like snapped back and she like threatened him, it was like, bro, you better watch it. Don't try that shit with me. And he was like, fuck, there's a student coming after me right now. Mm-hmm. So anyway, she leaves. She's like, bye. I'm out. Then it cuts back to the Babylonium, and Archie and Reggie are talking to Veronica, and they're like, so about this gig, because she's like excited because there's like more shows coming up. Everybody's excited to watch the next version, like the next showing. And they're like, we can't do this. We got to do like basketball. Like we can't have this. Like we can't do this anymore. And she's like, okay, fine. I'll give you more money. And he's like, no, but like, it's not about the money. Like we just can't do it. And then there's like some weird like I don't even really know what happened because she's like, I don't really care about you. I care about the balls. I was like, but they didn't make the balls, so don't you own the balls? Like I didn't.
Yeah, no. I think what she was trying to say was like, you're like I could get rid of you. She's like it's okay. She's like at the end of the day, like it's about the eyeballs, right? And she's like, I could get Kevin and Clay to like put them on and like dress and like do your part,
right? But why even have the like it was such a random conversation
I think they're just maybe trying to show that like she is sort of like business savvy in a sense too. Like here she was trying to meet them in the middle. She's like, I'll pay you a little bit more, and they still were like, nah. And she's like, okay, then I'm out. Like this business deal isn't gonna happen.
Yeah, she's like,
and that's fine.
Okay. So I thought it was kind of random to be like, okay, but like sure, businesswoman, let's do it.
I think they probably had to have that in there to establish that like Reggie and Archie aren't going to be there full time. Like they aren't going to be a part of this. They just kind of came to help out in this one episode, and like moving forward, they're not going to always be there.
And also it gives us a little moment with Reggie and Veronica again at the very end. So Archie leaves, Reggie goes and talks to Veronica, and he asks her out again. He's like, So I know that it didn't work out last time. We're like, did you want to do something? And this time she has to decline and say, sorry, boo. I'm gonna be busy tonight. Did you see downstairs? I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like busy. Let's try again tomorrow. Like, why don't you come by and let's see what happens
So that's the
tomorrow?
thing. Like she says that and he's like, okay. And then he kind of like starts to walk away. And then she's like, actually, you know what? No, like come by tomorrow and then like we can see if we can do something. So
Right.
I do think she's really still trying. She's trying to, he's still trying, but like we still haven't gotten anywhere. So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
curious to see what
Um
happens.
it's yeah, it is a nice back and forth that they're having. So and it's like not to anybody's fault. It's more just like she's
I
literally a
do feel like they're
businesswoman.
really different. Like I do feel they're so different in this timeline than they were before. Cause he's not into all
It's
that
a good
stuff. Like
point.
he's not into all the business stuff and the money and like he's like a farm boy and like he wants to play sports.
Yeah.
So I feel that disconnect there. Cause is he ever gonna get this? Like is he ever gonna get that she has to go to work and like she's doing all these things and like I don't know if he's gonna get that. So I'm curious to see. I'm excited to see if they will still find a way to each other. But
Right.
in this episode at the end, it made me sad because I felt like they were disconnected.
That's fair. And I think that, like, to your point, he almost feels like another version of Archie in that, like,
Yeah.
hometown, like,
Yes.
all American boy. Obviously, outside of the fact that he's like half Korean, like that aspect. I think that would be a really cool way to bring them together, is the fact that they both technically are
Oh
like
my
from
God, I would
different
love that.
cultures. And like having a way to like connect on that level would be a cool way to
Oh
really bond them together. Because you're right, they don't really have anything else
no, because in
like
the other
in
timeline they
common.
did. They were both that version of
Business
each other,
savvy. Yeah, yeah.
right? Like the ballsy, sort of like cocky.
For
So
sure.
they vibed on that level. But in this version, I'm like,
He's like, I just want
I'm
to play
not getting
basketball.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Like it's just like a, and also maybe to that whole same point about the fact that like, you know, she kind of lost out on Archie. Like Archie's not coming back for her. So maybe
Yeah.
this is like her second chance at like realizing, maybe she'll just realize like, I can't do the rat race. I just need to be a teenager and like hang out
Yeah.
with boys, you know,
And
like,
maybe to your point, like
okay.
maybe he'll take her back home and like she'll see how good his family is and like
Yeah.
how warm they are and like you know to his
Yeah,
about his
exactly.
culture and things like that and like maybe that will warm her up and be like, oh my God, this is what a real family feels like, you know,
Right. Yes, exactly. I'd like to see her out on the farm getting dirty on the farm.
getting dirty, that
Let's get
simple
that
life.
going. So simple life. So then it cuts to the Cooper residence. Alice talks to Betty about her sessions and says, like, you need to keep going. He's gonna fix you. And Betty's like, why do you keep pushing me to this random fucking doctor who I said is like a psycho? Why can't you just like talk to me? So
And
we
as
finally
she's
have,
running for the phone, like Alice is like
she's
literally
like
calling
ready
him,
to call. Yeah. And she like literally says like, what's wrong with you? Like, we need to talk. Like, you
like
need to
talk to
communicate with me.
me.
Talk to me, your daughter. um why does, and she says, why does it seem like you're afraid of me? And Alice is like about to speak, and she like fucking Hal out of nowhere comes upstairs and he's like, stop this conversation right now. Go to your room, Betty. Like this, the whole stupid thing. He's like, I heard what you said. Your mom is perfect. She's fine. It's you. You're the problem. And then pushes her to her room. But I was just like, could we not just get
A bit
on the
more.
same fucking
Yeah,
page
with the
right
mom and daughter.
now?
Having said that, like Hal made a really weird comment, like you don't know what your mom did for you, and then, and I was like, what does that mean though?
It's
Like,
like
is
what
there
every
more to
parent
this?
says,
No,
like
but
all the
maybe
things
there's
that we do for
more.
you.
Like maybe there's more. There's another layer to Alice that we don't know yet, and we will find out.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, very, very possible. Will it include Polly? Will it involve her, that
Yeah,
girl? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
We'll see. So the next morning, Betty is like, "Okay, mom, about last night, let's just find like a new path forward." And Alice is like, "Honestly, I tried to help you with everything. I do all these things for you, and you don't want my help, so I'm just gonna stop. I am not your mother anymore." I was like, okay, so you're a child, like clearly, like you
Literally,
don't even
like
know how to be a mom. Sounds good.
petty. No, so petty.
So petty, so annoying. So now they're even further apart than they were before. I'm just frustrated with the way this is going because I'm just like, can we just, I know that Machen is having her own directorial episode this season. I think it's a couple of episodes
I
from
think
now.
she's directed a lot of them so far.
I saw her
like
name
maybe.
specifically on one that's coming
okay.
up. No, not a debut. I'm saying like just this out like this season.
Yeah.
I think she's doing an episode coming up, and I feel like she always does ones that have to that involve the
Her
relationship
and
between her and Betty.
interesting.
So
Okay.
I'm hoping that by then, and I think it's in a
Yeah.
couple of episodes, like we'll
Look,
see
we're gonna get a juicy
resolution.
bit. I can feel it.
I just I don't know how much more I can deal with like
we're
this
gonna
back
get a
and forth
juicy
with
bit,
Alice.
and I feel like Hal is gonna be a part of it in some way. Like there's gonna be uncovering of what that is.
The answer to everything. Yeah. So then it cuts to the Babylonium. Reggie has been waiting downstairs with flowers, girls and boys.
Like, but he left already, right? Like
right now he's just waiting, and Kevin's
okay.
like, I know I told her, she's just been busy upstairs on the phone. Like she said that she'd be back, she'd be down.
Me.
Then it cuts to her upstairs on the call with the studio. The studio, who like basically rejected her earlier, is like, "Whoa, you guys are amazing!
Yeah, like we'll write an article about you, and like everyone was gonna find out." And
like, girl got on Variety magazine. I was like, "Good for you! Damn, that was fast." And then when she's finally done with the call, they strike a deal. Cool. When she's finally done with the call, she goes downstairs, and Reggie's gone.
And the flowers,
there's just flowers
are sitting there on their own, drying out and dying.
And so she's sad about that. Then it cuts to her getting home, and it gets worse for her. She gets home and she can't even open up her motherfucking door. And then
Smithers is just waiting there. Like he doesn't even like tell her. Like he waits for her to like try to open the door. He's like,
I was like, what, you like sent her all the way
the
up?
Third time? Maybe the third time? And then it doesn't work. He's like, oh, by the way, your parents locked you out of the house.
He's like, yeah, about that. So like you can't get in there because like the locks were changed. I was like, they went in there and changed all of the locks within 24 hours. What the hell? People. I was like, this is too much. And also, yeah, fuck you, Smithers. Like you couldn't tell me when I was downstairs coming upstairs. You had to tell me when I was at the fucking front door. So she's like, fine, whatever. I'm gonna go.
I have a place to go to. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
I wasn't.
He was like, bye, girl. Your parents don't even pay me enough. So then she goes and like lays in the Babylonian. She like puts up like
so on brand for her, really. Like it really works out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was like, I feel like she sleeps in her businesses all the time.
It's not like Jughead sleeping into the janitor's closet. Like she's got a movie theater to move to.
Yeah, she's good. She's fine.
She's good.
So she kicks up her feet, she goes to sleep, and she's like, welcome to the new world, whatever. She's excited to like take on her parents, I guess.
Yeah.
Again. So then it cuts to final scene is Pop's diner, and Pops is checking in on Jughead, a really sweet moment. He's like, yo, like, how are you doing?
It's like late at night at this point. It's like,
yeah. And Jughead says, this poor guy, he's like, something I learned about like reading his books is like, it's all about like time passes, seasons change, and life moves on. Like I'm not like, I'm still grieving, but like I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to like not be like stuck. And as soon as he's like, I'm ready to move on, he like gets up from the fucking booth. Everybody's like, stop moving on. You need to help us solve this case. And he's like, fuck.
Sheriff Keller walks in and he's like, we could not solve it. Shocker.
Yeah, shocker.
Shocker of the century.
Shocker.
That you can't save him. Case in the town that you sheriff. And you need to ask a 15-year-old boy to help you.
Oh my god. Shocker. He needs help to solve the case, and then like the final line is like Jughead's like, I guess I'm not moving on. So that is how the episode ends.
That's how it is.
Yeah, overall, just like, it is an episode, and we are gonna move ahead and see.
I'm curious to see what you guys, our listeners, think about this one. I do feel like there's gonna be mixed feelings of like, some people are gonna like it, some people are gonna say it was it was, we haven't really progressed, but I do feel like we are, and I did enjoy it. So like,
what is progression? Like,
exactly.
I'm gonna pull like
to the end, and the end's gonna be shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull a Dilton Doyle and be like, time is the fourth dimension. Like, who knows? What does this all mean? Yeah. Like, maybe it's all whatever. Like, let's just go with it. Is it cool? Cool. We're cool. That's how I feel about it. Cool.
Cool.
Let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups. Best moment.
My best moment was Veronica's 4D moment. I think all of that was just so exciting. I didn't know where she was really gonna go with it. I didn't know how successful she was gonna be with it. So to see her really like get to the end and like she thrived, I loved it. And like the style of the filming and like fun everything was just so fun. Yeah.
Fun moment. My best moment is going to Betty breaking into the doctor's office because it felt very like iconic, old school Betty breaking into an office. She uses her bobby pin. Like I just was happy to see it.
WTF moment.
What's your WTF moment?
WTF moment. It was hard to choose one. Like I didn't know what to pick, but I guess the back and forth between like Veggie, just because I didn't know where it was going next. And I'm like, okay, yes, like maybe this time it'll work. Maybe this time they'll go on a date. Maybe this time. And it didn't happen like that. And so I don't know what that means for them moving forward. I don't know if it's too late. Like maybe Reggie's like over it now.
Right.
And I hope not, obviously. So definitely excited to see like what actually happens with those two.
Between the two of them, yeah.
And then I will have to say like Betty's first sexual memory caught me off guard because I was like, homie was playing Operation.
We're not gonna talk about that one, yeah.
Oh, it was funny.
That's funny. My WTF moment is going to Veronica getting locked out of her fucking place.
Yeah.
Like within 5 minutes. Like literally, it's been 2 seconds and she gets locked out of her damn house. And the fact that Smithers was like, sorry, boo, you're out. Your parents hate you. Bye.
Get locked up.
MVP.
My MVP is Veronica. Because Veronica, as you can see, all the things that she did in this episode, she was amazing. And it's always, and I know yours, you know, you'll say yours next, but it's always really nice when the sort of the characters that are in focus of the episode end up being the MVPs. Yeah, because sometimes it's not always the case, right? Like they're the focus, and then they're like, you don't.
They're like they were the most annoying or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really happy that we're on this side of things, where like the girls end up being the MVPs of their episode. So
the girls were girling. I'm just saying
they were. Yeah,
they were girling. And yeah, to your point, Betty is my MVP. So a little B&V moment
Loved
between
it.
you and me, and B and J.
And yeah, like even though they didn't have like that traditional iconic like B&V like investigative thing, I think it still worked for what it was.
Yeah, I think that Betty also like finally taking control and making the realize like she had a year of realizing Kylie Jenner style, and I'm really excited to see her like move past this like chapter. Now she's got to tackle her next monster, which is her mom, which like let's slay this dragon for the final fucking time so we can like end it. LVP.
So my LVP is going to be obviously Sheriff Keller. That's an obvious LVP for once again not being able to solve any murders in his town. He's terrible.
He sucks.
But I will, kind of speaking through this whole podcast with you, we didn't once mention Tabitha. And you know, you can chalk it up to logistics of filming and production but what I'm going to say is for Tabitha to support Jughead, like she was non-existent.
True.
Like I would have loved if she walked in and she kind of like saw him being like sad and be like, "Are you okay?" Like, and then maybe that was it for her.
Right.
But like there was none of that. Yeah. I would have liked to see her show up a little bit for him, especially knowing that like his mentor just died.
Right.
So that I would say maybe Tabitha this week.
I do feel like maybe like that will be like what comes next. Like they'll be the next like investigators on this. Like I think
so. I just missed
he'll
it
probably
this
pull
episode.
her in. Yeah, it's true. Even for like a moment.
Yeah.
My LVP is going to be like just like half the parents of Riverdale, Alice, and also the ones that we have not seen on screen yet, the Lodge parents. Hermione and Hiram, you guys suck balls. I'm just really sad about that part, and like to your point, even talking it through, I'm going to be very sad and disappointed if they're bringing, you know, Mark Consuelos and our girl back from like
Marisol
Nichols, just so they can be crappy parents. Like,
Yeah.
Why even have like a resolve at this point?
But you know they're gonna be like funny. Like you know they're gonna be crappy but funny. But I'm gonna be annoyed at that because I'm gonna be like, you ditched your daughter this whole time.
Yeah, I'd rather them come back for the final episode where everybody realizes that this is all just a fucking dream, because at this point, that's all I'm hoping for.
The best line.
Best line, there was a couple. So my first one was from Betty when she was like doing the hair clip.
Yeah.
The bobby pin. She's like, this always works in the Tracy True books.
Yeah.
I forgot that she was called Crazy True. And then my next two are from Veronica. And when she's talking to Reggie and Archie, she says, because I respect your moxie and your balls, I'll pay you $2 per show going forward. And then she follows it up with, I'll get Kevin and Clay to do the gag. You can leave your balls with them. I just thought it was so funny.
And she delivered, like you said, she delivered it so well.
So good. Yeah.
Mine are going to be two, both from Betty. The first one is, I don't think it's about being seen just sexually. I think it's more just about being seen, period. Being seen as a person with autonomy and desire and self-determination. And then the other one that she says, I'm just now realizing that I don't think I want to get married, at least not anytime soon, maybe never. I want to make an impact on the world instead of, or in addition to, just having a family. And I don't know. I thought that whoever wrote that was really trying to say something, and they said it. So good for you. I loved it.
Yeah, we took what they put down. That's definitely what happened this week.
Took it.
Okay, we have some recap roundups from our listeners.
Yes.
Do you have Twitter open, or do you want me to read it?
Oh yeah, I don't have any tweeters open. While you do that, I'll do the next one.
Okay, so we have our girl on Twitter at Mackenzie L. Burns. Her best moment, Betty standing up to Werther's. WTF moment, Betty's dream and how they involved Archie as the main star after his OG experience. MVP, Betty. LVP, Werther/Alice. Best line, we have basketball practice. We have games. Archie turning down a job. The man who has 50 jobs runs away from me. Yeah, it's very true. From Sierra N. Okay, so MVP, right? 709. Want to make sure you got the right episode.
That's
here.
The right episode.
I think I enjoyed overall Veronica's story more, but Betty's story had singular moments that hit a lot harder. I think Veronica's hit or miss for me, and this episode she hit. She was so fun to watch. Betty standing up for herself at the end was so empowering, and I didn't mind the direction they took with her character despite some of the issues I had and still have. Also, Lily and Cammie stole the episode for me. Both are killing it. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
LVP, Alice/Dr. Werther's. I genuinely have no idea how Alice will ever come back from this, although I'm glad we got some vulnerability from her this episode, and I hope we get more of it, because so far, if we ever get back to 2020s, I'm gonna have a hard time believing Alice will be easily forgiven. Yeah. Also, Dr. Werther's was just so creepy and uncomfortable to watch, though I guess that means the writers and the actor did a good job, because it seems like that was the intention for sure. Like, he disgusts me.
Gross.
Best moment, the scene between Alice and Betty before Hal interrupts them. I'm glad Alice is starting to crack and show a softer side, because again, I don't know how she's ever going to come back from this. And overall, I thought both were showing some great acting, and I was really interested in where it was going. I'm wondering which route they're taking with Alice, whether it'll be the I was a serpent and got teen pregnant with Charles and I don't want you to be like me, like in season 2, or Hal is a serial killer and grooming you to be one and I want to protect you from that. Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah, there's so many things that happen to her that she
both.
had to do.
Yeah, like,
or it's both again.
WTF moment, the Betty teacher fantasy. I think that was just completely inappropriate and unnecessary. I think they could have chosen any other type of scenario for Betty to fantasize about. The fact that we are yet again putting Archie into a sexual situation with a teacher after the Grundy fiasco is in really bad taste, and I was very uncomfortable. I never liked the glamorizing of teacher-student relationships, and I was hoping we were past that in season 6 when they addressed it, but to see it again was just off-putting.
That's a really, really, really
I thought it was
point.
Pretty inappropriate too. Like, I get it, it's the show, but like, I was like, why are we going to this though? Like,
yeah, she couldn't be another student. Like, she didn't have, like, she, like, yeah, it is very odd and that they would have gone that direction with it.
What's the symbolism of her being a teacher? Like, is it because she's like this motherly figure for everyone? Like, she kind of takes care of everyone?
Right.
Like, what's the symbolism of her being the teacher? She could have just been a student.
I don't know.
It was weird. I thought it was a little weird too.
Yeah. That's a really good call out, though. I never really like looked at it, but that's a very good point.
Overall, this episode was fine. There was some good development, but I'm still concerned that this is all just time wasting, as I really wish we'd get even just a hint of going back to the 2020s. As I said before, I'd hope this be a WandaVision / Don't Worry Darling situation where things start to slowly unravel, but we aren't getting any of that. So far, it just feels like RES is doing a bunch of stuff he regrets not doing season 1 to 4. Very good point. You said it.
RES on this podcast, bro.
Yep.
I mean, that's not unfamiliar on this podcast for sure, but that's very, very true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your roundups. We always appreciate them. And I guess we're now closing up this effing podcast. I would like to take this time to take to thank our Patreons of this episode.
You good?
Rewinders. I'm like, ooh.
I'm gonna take my time with this.
Yeah. Our Rewinder squad, White, Cliff, Hannah, Julia, and Haley. Our Lit Rewinders, Tina, Ann, and Kate. And our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah.
Thank you so much, guys, for always supporting us. If you'd like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you're checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.